why managing your imposter syndrome actually serves everyone. What if I gave you a permission slip that said, your job is to feel good? And what if I told you that the better you feel, the bigger impact you can make in the world? And in fact, that is the magical parenting strategy that we've all been searching for. Hey, I'm Heather Chauvin, wife, mother of 3 boys, former social worker, breadwinner, recovering hustler, and stage 4 cancer survivor. Beyond all of these titles and labels, I'm a human being just like you, attempting to navigate it all while feeling good. My goal on this show is to show you that you can live an energized, sustainable life both at home and at work. My attempt is to keep it real with stories, interviews, and random thoughts. This is not a business or career podcast, and it's not a parenting podcast. It's both and so much more. You will laugh, you will cry, and you may even get a little frustrated with the truth you've been hiding from yourself. I believe all human behavior is a language, whether it's through your children, your health, or your relationships. And when you learn to listen instead of react, we begin to understand what it truly means to feel alive and in control. It's time to ditch self-sacrifice and step into your brave zone. Hey ladies, I am back, and today I'm going to be talking about how and why managing our imposter syndrome is really important to those that we love. And I'm just going to give you my perspective on what I think imposter syndrome is, first of all, and how we actually do ourselves a huge disservice playing small. And I've talked about this again and again on the podcast, but sometimes when we hear it different ways, we get it a different way. Imposter syndrome is one of those really cliquey, mainstream ways to say feeling like a fraud or not feeling good enough or you're going to be found out. And honestly, I actually don't like using the terminology imposter syndrome because I don't really understand why we use it. Because it's kind of just like it could be trauma, disguised as being an imposter. I really believe that anyone who believes they're an imposter is most likely not an imposter, because imposters are like serial killers and don't technically ever think that they're an imposter. So the fact that you're thinking that you're not good enough or you're thinking that you're not qualified, shows that you probably are qualified, and also shows that you're probably upper limiting yourself. And this is why I think it's really, really important for you to understand that managing your imposter syndrome and really looking at it rather than running away from it is doing the world a huge service. So yesterday I was talking to Jamie Kern Lima. And Jamie Kern Lima is the founder of It Cosmetics, and she has also been on Forbes for one of the most self-made billionaires. She sold her company It Cosmetics to L'Oreal for over $1 billion. And I was interviewing her yesterday. And of course, before we hit record on the interview, she's a mother, I'm a mother, she's a human, I'm a human. And we just connected. We connected over, talking about our local coffee shop and, when she was in Canada for a long time for the shopping channel. And just, you have to realize beyond people's accolades and what they've accomplished, they're human. Like, they're people. They have thoughts. They have feelings. They have a heart. Their heart pumps the blood throughout their body. If they get a cut, they still bleed like everybody else. The difference is, the stories that we project onto people with the assumptions that they don't suffer, with the assumptions that they have no challenges in their life because they're privileged, or if they've created privilege. It's just, there's so much projection that happens in the world, an assumption that I'm not good enough, and, they made it because XYZ, or, this happened to them. And this is why I'm such a huge fan of storytelling. And I've been getting so many messages around my book and people saying, I had no idea that you experienced that, or I had no idea that you were a mother on welfare. I had no idea that this happened to you, that, you're in a domestic violence situation. Just so many things that nobody knows about other people, but we assume because we see people and then we're like, oh, their life must be easier. So everyone experiences imposter syndrome in some form, some shape or form. I'm not good enough, self-doubt, all of that. And if you don't have that, that's kind of when, you're like, ooh, what is that they don't have? And sometimes the shadow side of that can be very dangerous. So that said, when I was talking to Jamie, she told me a story about Oprah, and she said it publicly on the podcast, and that will come out in a few weeks. And her story was around, and she said she was really embarrassed to tell the story, and it's actually in her book, her new book called Believe It. And the story was when she met Oprah. So Oprah, she met her somewhere. Oprah invited her to her house for lunch. And when she met Oprah actually gave her cell phone number and said, call me any time. And of course, as a woman, growing up, you watch Oprah, you want to be Oprah, you want to meet Oprah. She's a big, a mentor, somebody that you look up to. Everyone's like, I've made it if I've met Oprah. And again, we have to realize that Oprah is a person, right? Oprah is just a human being who had a dream and kept going for the dream, and has now built this platform. She's not better than anybody else. She just has a lot more privilege and opportunity because of the decisions that she has made and what she's had to overcome to get there, and the life path and journey that she's chosen, and the visibility that she's gained from her choices. So Oprah gave her cell phone number, and Jamie said, I am embarrassed to say this, but I've actually never physically talked to Oprah on the phone because, we've texted back and forth, but I don't actually believe, or I didn't believe, that I am at the same energetic frequency or caliber as Oprah. Like, I am not worthy of talking to her on the phone. And, I could very much resonate with that. Not that Oprah has ever given me her phone number, but my point is, we put people on pedestals. And although Oprah is probably very boundaried with her energy and her time, if someone like her gives you her cell phone number and looks you in the eyes and says, call me or text me anytime, she means it, right? She's not saying it to please you. She legit means it. Like, you are invited into my inner circle. You are now allowed to text me and call me. And of course, you're going to have boundaries. Of course, you're going to be apprehensive, and you want to be respectful towards the other person's wisdom, towards their time, towards their energy. But when you truly believe, like, I am not enough, you show up very differently than I am enough, right? I'm enough. This is something that I've been challenged with. Every single human has been challenged with. Writing the book came up a lot. And even to this day, right? It's like, who am I? Who am I to feel good? Who am I to tell this story? Who am I to write a book? Who am I to do this? Who am I to get that opportunity? Here's why it's really important for you to own and manage your own imposter syndrome. Think about all the people that don't benefit from you playing small and you believing that you are not worthy or good enough. Think about it. So on a macro scale, like a bigger scale, if you are a business owner or somebody who desires to do big things, when I say big things, I mean maybe reach more people. And it doesn't have to be from a book or a podcast, but maybe just like your energy, right? Every single human that you come into contact with, from someone you're buying a coffee from your children, from your family, from a random stranger down the street, every human that you come into contact with, you want to influence them. You want to make an impact. You want to change their energetic state. You want to know that they are worthy. But if you believe that you're not worthy and you're not doing the work to overcome and manage your imposter syndrome, you're actually like spilling that onto that person. Because maybe that person needed you to show up a different way. Maybe that person needed you to believe in them. Maybe that person just needed you to say, you've got this. And because you don't actually think you matter, or that your voice is special, or you don't put yourself out there, you don't overcome those challenges, you don't pick up the phone, you don't send that text message, you don't send that, private Instagram, you don't send that email. And because you don't do that, you actually negatively impact other people. So I think about my children, for example, because those are the people I spend most of my time with, especially in the last year. I see them every freaking day. And I am a huge influence on them because, a mother has a huge influence. These children literally call my name around, 10,000 times a day. And they want me to do everything for them because I am literally their world. Like, they put me on a pedestal and they think I'm amazing, because that's what we are bred to believe, is like the mother is the end all be all, except when the mother doesn't think she's the shit and she just feels like an imposter, like she's not good enough. She just hands that over to every single human that she comes into contact with, right? So she's giving from an empty cup. And so when I am managing my imposter syndrome, when I'm managing my enoughness, my children, I show up differently for them. I'm like, you know what, honey? I know you're having a big challenge right now, and I don't know how to solve this problem for you, but we're going to figure this out together. We're going to figure this out together. Like, I don't have the answer, but like, what's the next right step we can figure out? Like this math problem that you are trying to solve, or, you have these big emotions and you're triggering me and all of this. Like, I'm sorry. Let's figure this out together. Let's start again. Let's start again. Let's start again. When I'm doing the work to manage my imposter syndrome, I'm beginning to actually believe that, the story that I've been telling myself, that I'm not enough, or that, the bigger I become, the more I'm going to outshine other people, or, I'm fundamentally flawed, and all the bullshit that we tell ourselves. I have to realize that is bullshit. That somewhere along the lines, my humanness got in the way, and I limited myself because of a story that somebody else told me because they did not know how to manage their own imposter syndrome. And then I think of my clients, and I think of my community, and I think of the messages that I've received from people just by speaking my truth. And I think, what if I didn't show up that day? What if I thought my words don't matter? What if I thought, this doesn't, who cares? Who cares? And I still get like that. I'm like, who cares? I don't need to show up all the time. I don't need to. But I'll tell you right now, every single time where I'm like, nobody's going to care. No one's going to care. Or I'm not good enough to have this conversation. Every single time I think that, and I don't listen to that thought, and I take the action anyways, from the version of me that believes I'm enough, believes I'm capable, I always get a message from someone saying, thank you. Thank you for showing up. Because for you showing up for you, you showed up for me. And so I want you to know that I actually think it's incredibly selfish of us to believe that we are not enough or that we are incapable. Because when you believe that you're not enough and you are incapable, you are doing the world a huge disservice. And the more work I do on myself and the more work I do with my clients, both in their personal or professional lives meaning in their relationships with their children, relationships with themselves, their health, their money, their time, their energy, their partners, the more I realize the thing that we are truly terrified of as people, as a species, is not our fear of judgment. It's not our fear of losing it all. It's not our fear of fucking up. It's not our fear of failure. It's as we continue to pull back those layers, it is legit the fear that we are powerful beyond what we've been telling ourselves. And that's when life gets easy. That's when life feels like it's in alignment, because you realize that you're allowed to have angry days. You're allowed to be anxious. You're allowed to be sad. You're allowed to grieve. You're allowed to be broke, but you are not broken. And those feelings and emotions are not who you are at your core. It's just a part of you because you're human. And when you begin to manage them and to really understand, like, why am I anxious all the time? And it's not because you're sensitive. Like, truly understanding, what does your anxiety want from you? What does it need from you? Who are you? Who are you without your anxiety? Do you even know how to exist in the world if you are not anxious? Like, do you know what it's like to live having money and never worrying about money? Do you know what it's like to never yell at your children again? Do you know what it's like to hold a boundary and not feel guilty for it? Do you know what it's like to go for your dreams and live the life you want to live, even if that's uncomfortable for your partner? Like, do you know how to do that? Because every time I have faced that version of me, it's terrifying because I didn't know who I was without my other story. And another conversation I was having with a client this week, we were talking to that old self, and she's like, this feels like a death. Like, I'm dying. That old version of me is finally leaving me. And we were both crying together. I said, it feels like someone has physically died, doesn't it? She's like, yeah. I said, think about that part of you that you have now completed the cycle with. How grateful are you for her? Because you realize that part of you that you so badly want to let go of has also gotten you to where you are today. And who are you without that version of you? Because letting go of that version of you is a loss. It is grief. It